Greetings, one and all. I'm Kerrik52, and it is once again time to open up an ancient book of TurboGrafx. Roll the footage. You've already seen the intro to East 2, so I'm starting us out straight into Rance Village here. Not Lance Village, they picked the other path translating this, which I find a bit hilarious, since I'm pretty sure that the Rance series of games is actually a vague parody of East, so they might have literally taken the name from East 2. I haven't looked into it for what are probably obvious reasons. Rance is a very particular franchise, and I'm not the person to cover it. But hey, maybe someone in the audience can elucidate us, eh? So the framework for East 2, much like East 1, is the same here as it is in Chronicles. A lot of the finer details don't exist, of course, but you can still give Guido here some iron ore for money, for example. But I don't think you can convince him to pay you extra if you hold out, for example. So functionally speaking, it's mostly the same. Though I did try the NES version for a bit, and that version is super grindy, which tells me that the original version is also pretty grindy. TurboGrafx pretty fine though. And you can pretty much use my Let's Play as a guide if you were to play it yourself. I always like that in remakes where like the framework is so near between versions that you can use old guides and stuff. That pretty much holds true for the Trails in the Sky remake, for example, which is incredibly faithful. So we can't do anything with Jira's basement yet, of course, because we don't have any cursed bells. But keep in mind that this was me sort of futzing around for practice for the main series, since I recorded this beforehand. And I did kind of run around lost for hours during the later parts of the game. I will say it paid off though. So there really isn't much more to do here, no Pickard girl. I don't think people react to being set on fire either. Shocker, I know. Also, there isn't a nice field here either, it's just a danky cave. But this version of the soundtrack is something else. CD technology, Joe. I get the distinct feeling that a lot of composers just got beside themselves with excitement over CD audio and just went nuts. Good on them. I read up on the CDs not long ago, and I was kind of surprised to learn how old they actually are. They're from like 87, but to me it feels like they weren't standardized until like 93. That's very reductive of me, so probably best to ignore when I'm thinking about storage mediums. So then, we have these statue guys. This is exactly as tedious as it looks. Yep. This is it. Now, of course you can wait until you're a little bit stronger, but again, I wanted to be efficient. I don't know what that noise was. I kind of messed around with the buttons here and there. You'll probably notice some oddities and misclicks. But eventually they went down, and thankfully in this version you heal super fast, so it's not that bad. Something that will help me down the line, actually, because I made a terrible mistake. But what about magic? Well, it's actually stronger in this version, more or less. Here you can see me messing around with the inventory. And hitting the wrong button. So you don't have any, like, MP stamina here, you can just spam to your heart's content. And you have a decent supply of MP too, so murder away! But the real clincher is how it works in the Velagander fight, so... How did I do? So you can't actually break his arms in this version, and dodging is difficult. Especially for a first attempt. But I'm dealing good damage at least. So a couple of attempts later. So really, dodging the big shot there is your main concern. It's kind of like a game of chicken, honestly. Not as fun as the Chronicles version, because I like how the fight sort of evolves if you fight him long enough and it gets easier. Good thing for a first boss, I'd say. So then back to the village, of course, to restock. And to deliver the medicine. So, Flair doesn't even have an office in this version. He's just huddled in this corner, the poor man. Again with the eternal gratitude, I don't get that guy. Also, as far as I can tell, this is the only place to heal MP in this version, whereas in Chronicles they added a couple of more heal spots. Doesn't make a gigantic difference since you usually teleport back anyway. But it's just one of those things where it's nice to have. Especially for a game format like this, where you have, you know, village, dungeon, village, dungeon, village, dungeon.
I'm sorry, but I overheard you talking to Bernice. I was about to die of a disease I knew nothing about, but you risked your life to get the medicine that I so desperately needed. I owe my life to you. How can I ever thank you?
I quite like Lilia's theme. I've already talked about her voice actress earlier, but we do have some new ones later on. That's a great animation. This encounter, less so. This is where you die. So I spent quite a lot of time here, mostly grinding for money, so I could buy better equipment. I'm not sure if you can even clean it out for XP, but eventually, and very slowly, will you be able to take down all of these monsters. Not to the degree that I felt comfortable with them, but it's something. You'll also see me use the fireball a lot here, because with the lack of diagonal movement, having a ranged option helps a lot to compensate. Anyway, Ice Ridge. I got lost here a lot, probably owed to both the graphics and the slightly tinier play space here. Also because I was hella rusty. So I'm pretty sure I missed the Spirit Cloak here. It's called the Cape of Holy Spirit in this version. It's hidden in the same place, but I hadn't played East 2 in a while, so I didn't remember where it was. And my precious guide also didn't show where it was. So I played through the entire game without the ability to stand still and heal in dungeons. Which isn't impossible, but it sure isn't comfortable. I had a similar experience in East 4 on TurboGrafx, which I recently played through blind, where I missed the heal ring for a while, and that becomes unavailable for a decent chunk of game. You can go back to get it later, but it was still kind of a pain. Very educational though. I will keep that in mind for the eventual Let's Play on that. So, what about Tiamat? Well, spoilers, you can't steal his life savings. Also, you shouldn't fight him with low health, trust me. So here the lack of diagonal movement is really screwing with me. And the fact that his hitbox is very, very precise. So much like with Velagander, you have to be very good about not baiting the projectile, but just being aware of it and when to shoot. Again, took me quite a few attempts, but he eventually goes down. See, I feel like some of those should have hit, right? I think you have to aim for the middle of the shadow. Yeah. So as you can imagine, this takes a while, so let's speed it up a little bit. I believe this is triple speed, and it's still quite the quite the display. So I will be fast-forwarding more of these, and I do warn for flashing lights in the remaining boss fights, because I will be shooting at them much faster, so the screen will flicker more. So then we move into Burnedbless. I also like this rendition of the track. So weirdly enough, the road at Tree Leaf is just down here by the entrance. You don't actually have to talk to the ruse. But they do tell you what it's for, so there is still a bit of a puzzle element here. Oh yeah, and I did figure out those guys. These guys and one other enemy actually have like invisibility powers for some reason. I don't know what the point is, but they don't really do much. So welcome to Burn Village. There really isn't much here. So, they call them quays here instead of ruse. Oh, poor things were transformed into goons. And I think that has to do with the original name being translated as loo. And because that sounds like toilet, they picked quay instead. But then with Chronicles, they actually look like kangaroos, so the pun makes more sense there. Wiser words have never been said. Yep, sure can't pass that. You call that a street? I think I'll disagree. And here's me messing with the wrong buttons again. And here's a roof worm. Not as much fun dialogue in this version, but there is a little bit here and there. The monster dialogue is of course generic. I think it's per monster type maybe? But it's still super useful for staying alive, which again is something I exploited because I couldn't heal. I'm also really missing the hot swap for the magic. Yes! Adol was the goon all along! This quest is about the same as you've already seen. Nothing truly special. But our interaction with Tarf is much more restricted, as you can imagine. So one adventure later... So here are a bunch of hyperactive roos to talk to. I tried my damnedest to find all of them. I think I managed it. You can see how difficult this is. Also, in this version, the toxic gas will just kill you, it's not just an impassable barrier. So be careful. Speaking of being careful, I had a little thought here. So surprise, you can actually kick the shit. Never mind, they can kick the shit out of you. Don't fight Roos, kid. Oh, these things. Weirdly enough, not immune to fire in this version. So the black pearl is a blue orb in this version. Nice and shiny. Again, you'd think a fireball wouldn't work well here, but it's our only spell, so... Anyway, time to rescue Torf.
Someone out there? My name is Tarf. I am the son of the bridge guard. I truly hope that you can save me, but I'm afraid this rock is very solid and will be most difficult to break.
So that's Rhea/Lara again, doing her little boy voice. So, no new trivia for the time being. So they don't actually blow up the opening here. They just sawed off and you don't even see Tarf. But you do get the XP, and that's what's important. Who can say no to a man asking for forgiveness when he dumps more than 1000 XP on you? So, time for Gelaldi. This is gonna suck. So he looks a bit goofier in this version just because the sprite lacks the detail. But he will kill the shit out of you. Thankfully, the hitbox here is pretty forgiving. What isn't forgiving is the worm, as well as Gelaldi's movement speed and your mobility. So this one took a bit of effort, and I'm going to speed it up immediately. Great sign, I know. At the end of the day, it's just patience. But with the way the boss arenas are structured here, it just feels so lame that you have to kite the boss for so long in order to get the free space you need to turn around and then shoot. Whereas in the Chronicles, you can turn around much faster and sort of dip and dive to get your shots in. It's not the most efficient, but it does help with your DPS. Welcome to Ramia. Also pretty tiny in comparison, and very frosty compared to the Chronicles version. Yeah, so that's when I realized that you can actually improve the dialogue speed. I think it's on a per game basis, maybe. Also, take a look at Salem here. She is dressed incredibly modestly here compared to her Chronicles version. I'm curious if this was a localization change or not. Because I found some old artwork, and she has like a more open version of that outfit there too. I feel you. I feel you deeply. Your feeling, I can feel deeply.
I am Dekka. I know exactly who you are. You have a great reputation which precedes you, Adol. I had a strange dream last night. You were in that dream, Adol. There was also a charming young girl who spoke of you and said that I must help you. How marvelous that you're here now.
So that's David Sterry as Dekka here and not... oh, I forget his name. Gordo? Something to that effect. So he is... additional voices in all new Dennis the Menace. That was all I've found. I think for a lot of these people, they weren't intending to be, like, actors. They just sort of ended up being so. That's fine. Then we have the shrine. Let me tell you about the shrine. I was so super duper lost here. So nice thing is that these guards don't eviscerate you if you go here as Adol. But good lord, does this place feel gigantic when you have this little screen space to work with. So there's a new name. Sava doesn't exist in this version, or well, I think they reworked Sava by expanding her role in Chronicles, because maybe they were planning Origin by that point too. But as you will see with the fight later, calling Sava a guy isn't that surprising, since the sprite isn't exactly feminine this time. But yeah, this is the shrine. Basically the exact same layout, so again, you can use my Let's Play to navigate. But I'm skipping past just everything I can, just to keep this short, and it still ended up pretty long. Pass in hand, then you only have to pass by the guard and make your way here to the meeting. And you actually have to murder these guys in this version. Which, given my health bar, felt a bit scary. But it had to be done. So you don't actually get to see inside here, so we don't even get to see how Yetai looks outside of the actual boss fight. It's not even clear if it is him in the boss fight, though. Who else would it be? That is a weird password for them to pick. I wonder if that's a reference to an obscure Japanese computer or something. Also, no Ring of Ys to be found in this version of Ys. Instead, it's the Ring of Peace of Mind. And like, what am I supposed to do with that description? How does that help? I think this is part of the reason why I completely ignored the Ring of Ys in the Let's Play, just because I didn't find any use for it here. So again, Dalles just stands here and threatens to turn us into a ghastly goon, the bastard. Nah. Egads. We're a horrible blob creature, not an edgy roo. So I actually ran through the sewers here while still transformed. And I did get an extra scene out of it, as you'll see here. Oh shit. But Adol just spoke there. Gabe, you can't just have Adol speak a single time, but... What? I do wonder if that was a mistranslation or if the game is just like that. Because they talk past him not speaking in the Chronicles. A lot of walking later. Here's the Sacred Cup. And you do get a better hint for it here since the chest disappears. And I think they mention Dabby being the Priest of Light as well. Humanity restored. And with that, let's go say hi to Lilian.
Is that really you, Adol? I never thought I'd see you again. Do you recognize me? I am Lilia from Rance Village. Not long ago, I was caught by some demons as they were rounding up people in our village. Soon after this, a demon named Keith came and saved me. He gave me this key. He told me that I would be able to open many locked doors with it.
You are a most helpful soul, aren't you, Adol? You have led me to the hideout of these rambunctious runaways. These people have learned all too much about this forsaken land, so of course I cannot permit them to live. However, I do have a rather big heart, and I am going to let you watch as I turn their bodies and souls to ice-cold stone.
Jim Cummings is just too powerful. If you didn't know that, now you do. So Drugar ends up being a little bit different in feel here. Since it's kind of a mix of Velagundr and Yalaldi, because you have to kite him and not get touched. And maybe go grab a few levels. So getting your DPS on and spacing correctly is all this fight is about. As you can see, he doesn't spawn anything and his shots aren't homing either. But it's a real struggle to get your spacing right, not getting hit multiple times. And also not getting too greedy so that he glides down on top of you and almost instantly kills you. off we go. As soon as we get some instructions. Yeah, this isn't a bad inventory system, but this game is from like 89, so what do you expect? Again, you wouldn't believe the amount of stuff I've cut out of this footage, just to get to the good bits. In the game's defense, the brickwork is different enough in some places, but still, it's a struggle. Yeah, that guy was probably asleep.
I am Keith. I heard your voice when I was locked in the lava prison. I was spotted by a guard and chased, so I decided the safest thing to do was to hang out here until the coast was clear. If you want to get to the inner courtyard of the palace, then you must go through this water canal. I have the key to the water control room. Close the water gates and dam the canal. Then you can make your way up to the inner courtyard.
So that's Dan Gilvesen, who is Ruff and Henry Mitchell, also from all new Dennis the Menace. I don't know why we have two Dennis the Menace alumni here, but he is also Spider-Man 2099 in Shattered Dimensions. There's the area outside of the palace, and those wizards are vicious, and this is the best place in the game to grind. And the reason I know that is because I skipped backtracking for the equipment you can use with get with the Master Key, because I just could not parse the text guide at all. So I skipped it, and may do anyway. Again, I showed you the correct path in the Let's Play. It should be mostly the same. So you don't get the nice view, but you do get the full heal, which I was very much looking forward to. And yes, the game is coded to repeat this dialogue every single time you go in here to heal. It sucks. Oh yeah, another thing about the fireball I haven't talked about. It actually evolves about when you're done with the Moat of Burnedbless. And it sort of becomes like a giant rolling fireball that pushes enemies around more. I think I show it off right here. Yeah, see, you sort of just stun lock them and push them away. The game never tells you this, but it just happens. So this is sort of the equivalent of the shard shot in Chronicles. But much more easier to spam, but enemies also block it for some reason sometimes, and I don't know why. Yeah, I spent a lot of time here dying and grinding and trying to find my way. But eventually, I fought Yitai/Savao. So I think they just retconned him into a her for the Chronicles version. Same strategy though, but the bullet pattern is different, and I appreciate that because those homing bats in Chronicles would have been a nightmare otherwise. So I worked up the strategy of just standing right here and shooting up and down, since the bats are somewhat predictable. Though they get less predictable as you go along. And you can see by the damage I'm taking that I am severely overleveled for this, even if I'm missing... I think it's the shield and the sword. So you can make do.
Get out of here now, or you will perish like the others.
So that is one of 2 roles Shannon Beatty has had. The other one being Wendy in Casper Spirit Dimensions on GameCube and I think PS2. I'm just kind of curious about, like, what's the story behind that pseudo-career? Did she try for more stuff, or was it just, you're a womanly shaped person? You read this now, please. Showbiz can get weird. So can parallaxing. Look at those mountains. And there's the Dreaming Idol. Blocked as before, you have to walk up first. All the way. Look at the sky, what's going on here? Almost time. The piano's going nuts.
Such a brave warrior you are, Adol. I am truly impressed that you've made it to this lofty point. I commend your efforts. However, you'll be distressed to hear that I've already rung the death bell 4 times. If I ring it once more, the girl Maria will die. Let me explain the meaning of this ancient ritual. The ancestral priests of this land lived over 700 years ago, but their descendants still reside in East today. The 5 bells are the ceremonial warning. Before I shatter their souls and drain the last of their life's blood. I do love this. Now please, enjoy the sweet sound of the bell's last ring.
He is so raw in this version. So I'm just skipping past the questing for the pearl and the idol and everything. We have places to be. Like right here. So here it's not a random miner that found the pendant, but instead Dr. Flare. I think I prefer this version of events, but it doesn't matter that much. And there they tell you that East is coming down from the skies. Also good information. And of course, gotta rescue Sada and get our weapon. He looks very... fridge-like in this game, I feel. Less talking, more Claria sword, come on. Yeah, you can see all of the equipment I missed. So now that I'm properly equipped and overleveled, how about I show you how well you can actually shred through Dalles if you're properly prepared. It's downright comedic, honestly. But after all of the confusion I went through recording this, I feel like I deserve it. But what about a sword to the face? Oops. I like to imagine he was so surprised by that, he just redid the speech on reflex. So, he only has one set of projectiles, and doesn't do damage, really. This is incredibly pathetic. Laughably so. Look at this. I'm waiting so hard. And just like so, we're caught up to Chronicles. This was about all of the interesting stuff I could find in the TurboGrafx version, so I hope you've enjoyed this. Next time, it's the last episode of the Let's Play, where we take down whatever is on the other side of that door, or teleportation crystal, rather. And I'm going to show you in both versions. So until then, farewell.